Trusting God deeply doesn't mean I have to be stupid. And during this coronavirus, we follow the advice of health experts and our common sense and social distancing and hand washing and all of that. But I think this time also gives me a perfect opportunity to practice going deeper spiritually and in my faith and trust and experience of God. So, a verse that came to my mind out of the blue, which I take that as a sign of the Spirit moving in some ways. So a little King James for you this morning, or actually Revised Standard Version. And that's what I was raised on as a little boy. And this verse came to my mind, and I must have memorized it early on in my life because it's in the RSV, King James Version. And it's this, Isaiah 26:3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. So I'm unpacking that for myself this morning. Here's what I'm coming up with. Perfect peace. Perfect peace is available. No matter what the storm, there's perfect peace deep within. It was many, many years ago, 20 plus years ago, I went to a midwinter and I heard a pastor preach. And I'll never forget it. He said this: we're living in three places. We're either in a storm, going into a storm, or coming out of a storm. That kind of reflects and echoes Jesus' words of, in this world, you're going to have trouble. There's going to be storms. There's going to be trouble. But take heart, I've overcome. So this perfect peace, there is perfect peace and love, no matter what the circumstances. And it's a peace that passes understanding. And we're never separated from it. So why is it that I don't experience it more often and more deeply? Because my mind wanders. And I constantly choose wrongly. I live in my wrong mind of Bill rather than the right mind of Spirit and of God. So there's this perfect peace. It's always there. So how do we access it? Well, the verse goes on. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Mind stayed on thee. This is about spiritual mind training, but I often choose wrongly, as I've said, and I focus instead, not on God, but instead I focus on the problem. My mind wanders to me and the problem rather than to God. So fear is my responsibility. It's not God's responsibility. I think there's a prayer that we pray that God will never answer. And it's this: God, please take away my fear. And I think God responds to me by saying this: Bill, I can't. I already have. You have to. You see, the answer is already provided. And it's me in God, choosing God. You see, the perfect love and perfect peace is always there, and I'm never separated from it, but I am often unaware of it. So the trick, the spiritual trick, is to get my mind stuck on God, to be Velcroed in my mind to God. Often we think of people, oh, they think about God too much and spiritual things too much. No, think of God. Thinking of God frees me and from my problems that I am stuck on and Velcroed to. So thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. So rather than trusting in God, guess who I trust in? Me. In God I trust? Often not. It's in Bill I trust. And fear is a sure sign that I'm trusting in me and in my own strength rather than God's strength. You see, trust would settle every problem now, but I look elsewhere constantly, all the time. And the last part, I have to go back to the first part of the verse for the last thought, is keep. God will keep. In perfect peace, God will keep me, him in perfect peace is my say. God will keep me in perfect peace. So when we do our work, God's work of provision is already there. God's reality comes shining through. And God keeps me there if I'm willing. So I'm never separated from this love of God. I'm only unaware of it, and it's always there. And when I get into that mode of knowing there's nothing to fear, when that shows up somewhere in my mind, I have remembered God in some part of my mind and spirit. And I've let God's strength take the place of my weakness. And the instant I'm willing to do that, there indeed is nothing to fear. Oh man, my arm is falling off here. I got to wrap it up. So practice. We get an opportunity to practice. Get a lot of practice. And that's one of the secrets to life, isn't it? Sanctification. I think it's just a fancy word to simply practice with God again and again and again and again. So, yeah, Bill, you're all speaking about this and preaching about this. Easy to preach about. What about living it out? And yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. You know, the fear is very real, and I actually don't watch the news, but I've caught myself watching it now and getting caught up in some of the fear. And could I say this same thing that I'm trying to preach to myself this morning? Could I say this same thing if I had coronavirus, was sick, and on my deathbed in the hospital? I hope that with practice, yes, I can. So let's not condemn ourselves for our lack of trust and our experiencing of fear. God doesn't condemn us. Let's just realize it so that we can change and be changed. So finally, God is keeping us in perfect peace and perfect love right now, in this moment. And if we're willing, we can realize it. We can experience it right now in this moment, no matter what. And no matter what is going on, and no matter what storm we are in. So may you experience that today. And may this help us all live our lives well in God. So until next time, may we live every day of our lives. How do I end these things? Until next time, may you live all the days of your lives. There it is. And with this perfect peace, trusting in it, I think we can. Take what's helpful and leave the rest. And now I will rest my shaking arm and hand.